This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of Tapped In Sales, your podcast for beer distributors by beer distributors. Here today, your hostess with the mostest, Bud, but also have Mikey. I still have not dedicated enough time to come up with a name for you. Master of metrics so far.
Master of metrics. Love it. And for the record, that's 3 intros in a row that were just spotless, clean.
Well, we'll see. I mean, there's always time, right? We'll see how long I go at this.
New year, new podcast, man.
New year, new podcast. Oh, my man. Well, it's cold, Mikey. I'm in Florida. It's cold where I am. I'm hooded up for sure. I mean, I know people shouldn't feel bad for me, but it is 37 today.
Yeah. I mean, you're coming to us from the hot spot and you're freezing. The rest of the country is definitely freezing.
Yes, for sure. And then it's been cold up in Michigan too, hasn't it? Yeah,
it's been cold. I don't think it's been cold as like parts of Missouri and Illinois because they're getting the brunt of it. But yeah, it's cold. The sun came out today. I think the high today is 22 and it's melting some snow. So it feels like a summer day out there, but it's still cold.
What people don't realize is Michigan gets like no sun in the wintertime. None. It's always gloomy, which is no fun.
Yeah, today's the first time I've seen sun in a while. That was nice.
We gotta get some more trips south. We're not really going as much south. We're going to spend all our Q1 in the north, in the Midwest, and in the Northeast.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Northeast. That's going to be fun.
That will be fun.
Yeah.
Will be fun for sure. So we had a couple topics we were going to go into today. Later in December, Sarah and I were on a little soiree down in Miami. We were enjoying the sun and the fun, and I cannot confirm or deny what kind of swimsuit she was wearing, but that is why we went to Miami. So while we were down there, of course, we were going out to dinner and having all the fun there. But one of the things that we found fascinating, this podcast, we talk about people respond to incentives and all the stuff that goes into that methodology and that thinking in the beer world for beer distributors. But everywhere we went on premise for bar, restaurant, threw a 20% mandatory surcharge on the bill. And I found that fascinating, except for the 2 local Cuban spots we went to for Cuban sandwiches. They wouldn't do that. They're not into that mode. But all the other places were like 20% auto charge. And I'm used to 20 points when it's like a group of 6, 8, 10. That's totally normal. But 20% across the board, I found fascinating.
Yeah, party of 2. You don't usually see that.
And we were just a party of 2 the whole trip for sure. Now, one of the things that was also crazy about this is that we got more free stuff than we ever had before. The first night, Sarah orders a glass of wine, and it's really good. So then I get a cocktail first, and then she orders a glass of wine, and she likes it, so then she takes another one, and then I try it, and then I get a glass of wine too. And next thing you know, we've drank the whole bottle, and the guy charges us for 4 glasses of wine. And I even asked him in the middle of like, appetizer first course, was like, can we just upgrade that to the bottle? Because I think we're going to finish this sucker off. Yeah. And he's like, no problem. I got you. Like the whole plan.
And you would think, I mean, at first glance, right, you would think that he would want to rack that bill up as high as possible, knowing that it's guaranteed 20%.
Mm-hmm. But sure.
He had an alternative motive.
Alternative motive was to go get an extra 5, 10, points or $5 or $10 out of us for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I had never thought, so you just said that like he would want to rack the bill up because he's already getting a share of the upcharges.
Yeah, he's guaranteed 20%.
I didn't even think about that. Well, it's like, of course, he wants to get 25 or 26 or 30 off of a small, but that's fascinating too. That's
And probably
another.
that 20% is guaranteed tax too, where whatever you throw on top is probably under the table. So that's the portion that he's really wanting to grab and rack up of, hey, I'm your buddy. Look what I did for you. What are you going to do for me?
Mm-hmm. And it's not like the service was bad. It's not like it was a guaranteed. We went to some pretty nice places, but it wasn't like it was because it's guaranteed. It lowered the outcome or lowered the service
Yeah.
from my perspective. So I don't know, man. It was interesting. It did layer on. It makes the cost go up considerably. We tip 20% across the board regardless though. So that's pretty you have to be pretty bad for us to do 15 or 10. I don't even
Yeah.
know if I've done 10 in the last, 20 years.
Yeah. That seems, I mean, in this day and age, that seems considerably low.
Mhm.
My in-laws are old school. So yeah, I mean, 10% if you did a good job, 15 if I really, really, really like you, but I mean, that's old school way of thinking because you don't really think about, well, the server's only getting, pennies on the dollar as a base rate, and they're really looking for their tips to make their living.
So do you think this is something that you think that people should be doing more as a bar and restaurant owner, like mandating 20%?
I think it would. I mean, right now when we're looking at the on-premise struggling the way they are, especially with pricing and everything getting so expensive, I think that would drive more people away because there's a lot of people with that old school mentality of, well, you didn't do your job. I'm not going to tip you, right? You didn't go above and beyond, or my food wasn't fast, or whatever. My steak was overcooked. So I think that an establishment that had a mandatory 20% would probably drive some people away. You would lose some
Yeah.
business over that. In my take.
So the Danny Meyer is a big restaurateur in the Northeast, really mostly in New York with Union Square Hospitality Group. Love him. Yeah, one fascinating book to read if you're listening is Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. It was all about how he built out a first couple restaurants. He would also be known as the founder of Shake Shack. And for those of you who know me really well, I love Shake Shack. Sarah does too. So we're a little obsessed with Danny Meyer and Shake Shack. But he's tried to institute like higher prices and no tipping at
Oh,
his restaurants. And he's actually walked that back. And what I find interesting about, and if I remember this right, this is a little armchair experty, is that the servers, although we're getting paid a livable wage and well more than what they had made from guaranteed, liked the variable component at his establishments and actually wanted the variable component back. And
really?
that also the staff, also the servers felt like that, but also the I think the other thing that happened too is like you think about pricing and how you're compared. And if a good steak and a nice restaurant, round numbers is, 35 or $40, and at his restaurants it's 55 or 60 because it includes the tip.
Right.
People only compare the utility cost. So what's a gallon of gas? What's a, gallon of milk? What's a carton of eggs? What's a pound of meat? Those are all utility costs that people buy every day. And when you're looking across menus and where to go, if you increase your prices by 10 or 15% to account for the tips included, that potentially suppresses foot traffic and what they learned as well. Where instead, if it's the hot sauce, which the hot sauce is adding the gratuity at the end, like nobody cares about how much a bottle of hot sauce is, right? You just got
Yeah.
it could be $3 or it could be $8. Nobody's really paying attention that much. And that's kind
Yeah.
of the fee structure of the 20% guaranteed. People don't care. They don't look at
Yeah.
it in the
And
same
there's
way.
no incentives for. I mean, I try to take a look at it as if I was the server,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where's my incentive to go above and beyond and make sure you are 100% satisfied? If I'm still getting paid as much as the person next to me who came in hungover and doesn't care, just wants to get the job done and get the hell out of there, when I'm going above and beyond, I want to make a little extra money if I'm putting in that extra effort.
So what can we learn from this in the beer industry, Mikey?
Sounds a lot like beer incentives and
Yes.
objectives.
Yes. Where it's like guaranteed or they're layups or there's what's that one of the old episodes we did was I think episode 26 where it was how to make your PFP guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So I mean, it all cycles back through to where if I know at the end of the day, I'm making the same amount of money, if I go above and beyond, or if I just skate on through to make my bare minimum, I have, I have no motivation to do that extra piece of the pie.
Yeah. So you got to find a way to creatively engage the juices of your team around doing something. And there are unintended consequences at any incentive structure you put together. I happen to benefit multiple times. Every single visit we made to a restaurant, we got free something
Yeah.
or another, whether it be 4 or 5 glasses of wine. It was a couple glasses of wine here. I think it was a cocktail at another place. Um, Somebody forgot to throw an appetizer on too.
Beautiful.
Somebody threw our appetizer we ordered at another table and then brought us ours and gave ours for free.
Yeah, because they're trying to butter you up to
Mm-hmm.
loosen up your pockets, right? To throw that extra on top of that guaranteed 20.
It did work.
Yeah.
It did get the job done. It did get the
Yeah.
job done.
So
So
I guess we ask ourselves too, and as managers, what's equivalent to that free appetizer
yeah,
when we're making our targets as far as incentives and objectives?
exactly. So what other things should clients and people be thinking about in the industry around how we're thinking through those unintended consequences too?
Yeah, those unintended consequences have, I mean, a big impact because, again, if everybody's getting paid the same and if they have layups, you're getting the bare minimum out of everybody. From guaranteed 20%, I'm probably going to give you the bare minimum because I'm guaranteed that 20%. I don't need to do anything to earn it.
Yeah,
If I go above and beyond, and if I get a little something in return, then that's my return on effort. And I'm more apt to do it again. Right. And the
yep,
above and beyond could be anything from recognition, just like the server was looking for in you, right? Recognize me for giving you a free appetizer. Recognize me for not charging you for that bottle of wine, or not charging you for the glasses or whatever he did. Give me that recognition in the form of some extra gratuity. And it relates to our sales reps too, to where it's not always a dollar thing. It's also recognition too,
yep.
right? I mean, this goes back to Atlas. We had 2 reps that loved recognition.
The non-economic side, yeah,
They loved it more than the dollar side of it, to where if they were recognized in a sales meeting or when we were out having some happy hour beers and, one of them, hey, you did a really good job on that display you built, or hey, your target for blah, blah, blah was only 5 new pods. You went out there and killed it and got 15. Everybody put their hands together for Dave or whoever, like he went
well,
out there
we
and
got
killed it.
him sampling while he was there sampling something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The target was 5 and the dollar stopped at 5 because that was your target, but you went above and beyond and got 10 or 15 because you wanted the recognition and you knew you were going to get it because we recognized our team like that too, right? To where, and that was, for us, that was the free appetizer
Yeah,
for going out and going above and beyond, not just hitting that minimum, calling it good, collecting his $200 or whatever it may have been, and walking on, wanting
yeah.
to do the extra.
We missed some of those examples to talk about the non-economic side. One of the funniest ones that we would do at Atlas is, particularly when we were trying to learn VXP and do something new, is Tommy would send out, we all have this, trinkets and trash and point of sale stuff that is just like not useful or never going to be used.
It was headed to
And
the dumpster and somebody was like, don't throw that away quite yet. Let's hold on to it. We
yeah,
might need it.
exactly. So it was, hey, text me, first person to text back with what the GP per CE is on X, or what's the largest volume of Y, and what's the biggest package in brand Z.
Yeah.
Wins a best damn hat.
Yeah. Or we had those foam fingers. We used the foam fingers for a lot of stuff. And they were stupid. And nobody used the foam fingers, but when they won a foam finger, they were to the moon. They put it on. I'm number one. So it's something as silly as that, but that recognition piece of, you know what, we appreciate what you did and we recognize it.
What were some of the other non-economic things we've heard from clients around, digging in and like having just that element? Doesn't have to be even VXP related, but just that element of like recognition without dollars.
Some do like a recognition of like an employee of the month or like sales rep of the month or stuff like that too. Some people are motivated by time off. So maybe an extra hour in your PTO or an extra 2 hours in your PTO. I mean, you really have to know what motivates your sales rep, and what gets, what makes them happy. right? What makes them tick, to cater to that. But yeah, thinking outside of the box in multiple ways like that.
You don't need a structure around all of this either. Like the
No.
serendipitous nature of getting something out of the blue is infectious and addicting. That's why casinos are so successful with like slots. Like who would sit there and just play the slots all day long? It's the serendipitous nature and the way our brain works of actually getting that to that win, and then all the fun that comes along with winning the extra tokens or winning the extra dollars it's
Yeah.
just comes out of the blue and you
Yeah.
never really know. And
Yeah. We,
that it's not going to work and it's not going to be in your favor, but we still do it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've seen bottles of wine too, right? Maybe some reserved bottles of wine. Hey, take this home to your wife. Enjoy this for the night because you know what? Maybe it wasn't on PFP this month, but we recognize that you blew this target out of the water or you went above and beyond and made this customer happy or you did this.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy this bottle of wine or this reserve bottle of whatever.
Mm-hmm. 100% is gift cards out of the blue. Take the
Oh, yeah.
family out, get the family involved. Because now you're talking about recognition in front of the team, but now we get to go back home to the family and say, "Look how I was recognized," and now we get to go do this activity, or
Yeah.
we get to
Yeah.
go do that activity.
Boss man wants to take us out to dinner because he recognized that I did this. She
Mm-hmm.
recognized that, I went above and beyond and did this. So now the family, you're right, 100%. Now the family's involved. Now the wife's happy. The kids are happy, right? They're getting a free meal. And
I think it was when Tommy celebrated his 25th anniversary. He wanted like a new driver or something. So we went together over to a place to
golf
go.
driver, right? Not a
Yes.
personal driver.
Oh, golf driver. We ain't that rich, Mikey. We ain't that rich. He wanted a golf driver. Yes. He wanted a driver to drive the golf balls. Yes.
Yes.
So we went over to a range. We went to the place called Carl's Golf Land over in Detroit. And Sarah was like, "You really going to drive him all the way over there and do a fitting and everything?" I'm like, "It's the experience." And she's like,
Yeah.
"And that's what he wants instead of money?" I'm like, "That's what I want to give him instead of money too, because every time he looks down at that driver, he knows that we drove all the way over to Detroit and I drove, which I never drive. And in the company setting, I always made you drive.
Oh
Sat
yeah,
in the back
I
and forth.
was the driver. That's why
You
when
were
you said
the
he wanted
driver.
a new driver, like no, he didn't want to get rid of me. He
Remember, he
liked me as
tried
the
to get in the
driver.
back a couple times. Like, no, I'm not sitting back. I'm not driving, bro.
I even tried to kill us once, and that didn't work. I was
You
still the
did
damn
great.
driver.
You did what you were supposed to do. We just passed
Hit
the
the
bridge.
median.
You broke down the median. We all patted you on the back. We jumped back on the highway and kept going. You're incredible moves.
I tried to get out of that job in many ways. It just never worked.
Well, we couldn't have my dad driving. That was
Sure.
way worse. And Tommy didn't want to drive, and I didn't either. So tough shit. You're up. So he went over there, and we had a great day, but now every time when he looks down at that driver, it's like, this is what we had as an experience and how much fun we had. You knuckleheads always went over and did the casino trip too.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did that,
That's a
what,
great,
4 or 5 years in a row?
that's a great example. Yeah. Cause we've mentioned a couple times, but at Atlas, we didn't run any supplier incentives. And our objectives didn't usually, for the most part, didn't really have dollars behind them because it was it's part of your job type deal, right? This is what we expect. This is part of your job. So when suppliers did want to throw money at us and do an incentive, we would take that and turn it into a team effort with an experience. So every year all right, hey guys, if we can do X this year, like this is our company goal, right? We all strive towards it as one team, one dream, and we hit it. We're going to Detroit and we'll get everybody hotel rooms at the casino. We'll have some gambling money. We'll have some entertainment money. And we usually always cite it around a sporting event too, whether I think one time we did a Pistons game, we did a hockey game, went to a concert, stuff like that. And that drove the team and motivated the team more than any $100 here, $100 there type, and it was a team building activity because we were all together in the big city, right? It was like releasing a bunch of country folk in the big city for the first time. We're all wandering around looking, but no, it was great. And one heck of an experience. And me personally, I mean, that's what I wanted most to win was those trips because it was great. Got away. Yeah. It was just us. And as you're talking about Tommy's driver set and golf club set too. I'm looking at my personalized Pac-Man machine that's down here in my
Oh,
basement
that's right.
that
Yeah.
has the plaque on it for achieving, I think it was my 20th year at Atlas, 20th anniversary. You guys knew that we entertain in the basement. We have games and fun stuff down here. So yeah, personalized Pac-Man machine with a plaque of 20 years of achievement. I mean, things like that go a long way, right? Where I wasn't expecting it. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, hey, we recognize you. You know, you've skated right by the bare minimum for 20 years, but here's
We're
your,
still here.
you're still here. I don't know how we cut you off payroll 3 years ago, but you still show up. So here's the machine.
Oh, that's awesome. I forgot we did the Pac-Man for you. That is all Terrence doing 100% for sure.
Yeah.
Great idea.
But some great examples, of outside of monetary achievement and incentives and objectives and targets, just the recognition piece. And it can come in so many different ways, but it goes a lot farther than money, at least in my perspective.
And they don't always work. Some of them land flat. Like we got Kenny, that Penguin casino machine,
Oh yeah.
and the countertop, which we like got to work and then quit working and then got to work again and then just like quit working. It's like,
Yeah. That was an epic fail. Yeah.
it was well intentioned, but a problem.
Yeah.
So I think
We still
that,
appreciate it.
yeah. So I think this is like a fun discussion, inspired by, a random trip to Miami and some weird behaviors around, incentives that, just to know that these things are challenging and that it's okay to have some challenge with like, how do you want to do this or what you want to focus on and how do you get it? And you got to game out some of the unintended consequences, and not all of it has to be economic. Those would be the summaries there.
I hear very often when I'm out with different teams at different organizations, there's always one, sometimes two reps that just aren't motivated by money, and they ask the question, "How? I mean, what do you do then?" Money does not motivate them. Maybe their husband or wife is the breadwinner, and they just love this job, and that's what they love to do. So how do I get them to get motivated? So,
yep, you got more than one lever to pull for sure. The other piece is we wanted to dig in a little bit deeper on this public health thing where the Surgeon General comes out and wants to make a recommendation for a warning label on alcohol, which I had a little fiery shorthand position last episode.
yeah. And timing on that too, because we mentioned it. I don't know if it was the last pod or the pod before when we mentioned it and we brought it up on the evening news that very same night. Well, first it started on the local news. They did a piece on it, right? And then it was on the evening national news. And it wasn't even the story wasn't even about the label. The story was about the research about alcohol causing cancer.
Yeah.
And I'm just shaking my head watching the TV going, are you kidding me? Like this is all the industry needs right now. It's not even about just wanting to put the label on. It was about all the research and that alcohol causes cancer and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you look at this, I mean, this is Bud's opinion. This is crazy, but when you look at this, let's see this. So, like, the whole idea behind this thing is that they want to increase the awareness of alcohol. For anybody who's listening on the computer or listening without the YouTube, 100,000 cases a year, nearly 20,000 deaths from cancer each year that are somehow, quote unquote, supposedly linked back to alcohol. And we're going to skip over some of this because I found this chart hilarious. And this is where I have a problem with this. This is awareness. Less than half of Americans are aware that alcohol consumption increases cancer risk, 45%. Only 53% of people realize that obesity increases cancer, yet we don't get any label for the cereal we feed our children every day, or we put on that has all the sugar in it and the high fructose corn syrup and everything else. Like, what the heck?
I didn't see a warning label on my mega sized fry from McDonald's or Wendy. I mean, come on.
Talk about catching the diabetes. It's just like, give me a break. It is absolutely hilarious for the government to think that it's going to like move the needle on this without like and not look completely hypocritical.
There's only a 46% difference between that and radiation.
This is hilarious.
What
This
the
is
hell?
hilarious. I'd like to know
Come on.
I like to know the political warning label or the effort that went in there for us to realize that radiation is bad for us.
And I want to know who the 8 or the 9% of people that don't think radiation causes cancer.
Yeah,
Who are they?
they think like, hey, I'm gonna have a side of radiation with my dinner tonight.
But no wine, please.
Yes, but no wine. That's too risky, please.
Yeah.
And also, I'm leaving this up because it helps guide the conversation. And also that most of the alcohol consumed in this country, and for the better part of the world for that matter, is on grocery store shelves is some of the naturalist stuff that you can go find with the shortest ingredients label if we really did put ingredients on everything, and with the simplest ingredients that you can name all of them and find them in other parts of the grocery store in their, you know, unman in their unremanufactured way to milk alcohol. I mean, it's
Yeah.
water, barley, hops, rice, corn, some kind of, and hops. You don't really find that at a grocery store, but it's basically a spice
Yeah.
and
It's
yeast.
it's the only food product that I can think of that I can walk into a store, buy a box of it, right? Buy a box of beer, come home and be able to make that same exact product without having to add a bunch of stuff I've never heard of.
Yeah. No, and no like sugar in it no added sugar in it. Yes, sugar can be a byproduct of alcohol. It's not ultra processed. Also, something that is going to drive obesity and diabetes and cardiovascular disease, which are all things that are more leading causes of death in America and the world than anything that has to do with alcohol,
Yeah.
which is
Blows
just
my mind.
wild to me. I mean,
It is.
if you look at all the things that we could focus on, which is this is CDC data from 2022. I don't think they have the 2023 and 2024 data out, but it's heart disease was 695,000 deaths, cancer 605,000. They're still tracking COVID deaths at 416,000 in 2022. Accidents from unintentional injuries, 250,000. Strokes, 162,000. Chronic liver respiratory disease, 147,000. Alzheimer's, 120. Diabetes, 101. All of those things have proven some kind of connection with ultra processed foods, tobacco, prescription or medical, some kind of drug that is not alcohol. And then you've got neurosis. I think that's what this is. And then we have chronic liver disease and cirrhosis, which is 54,000. So we do from diabetes, neurosis and cirrhosis of the liver cut it in half. It goes from 100,000 deaths down to 57,000 and 54. The half life on it is exactly half for those two. So it just drops off the face. Yet we're spending time talking about this. I just think it's crazy. I think it's hypocritical and it is unreasonable for us. Like we're not that dumb, right?
Right.
We're
Yep.
not that dumb. And to me, I
Yeah.
don't
We
think
need
this
to.
is a big political thing. It's just we're not that stupid.
No. We need to take some of those efforts and focus it on food and health.
For sure.
Right. I mean, educate that it's not okay to have your 3 meals come from a drive-through window every day.
Or just some of the food that goes on grocery store shelves that's got sugar in it, or some of the stuff like the European Union, which has banned red 40, which is a food coloring, and yellow 5, and they've just completely banned it off shelves, and we haven't done anything about it.
No, it's fine. Just don't drink beer.
It's crazy.
You'll be healthy.
Absolutely crazy. Do you so that's off the soapbox from a hey, knucklehead, we should rethink this and go back to being a doctor school and try to think through something better, really, to like, will this change any behavior? Like, people are still smoking. Half of the people know that Rice Krispies or some of this other stuff that you can put in your body that's ultra processed, Reese's Pieces, all this high sugar content food or high fructose corn syrup food, they're still eating it. Do you think it makes any difference?
I mean, it's an industry that doesn't need any more punches right now. So will it make a difference? Maybe not. But it's also, I mean, it's one of those things where we've taken enough bullets at the industry, and we just need to, we don't need that kind of press right now.
Do you think it hurts beer more than spirits or wine?
I think it hurts everything,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, alcohol is alcohol, and it's in the eye of the intaker, right? I mean, if you drink spirits, you're going to think they're talking about spirits. If you drink beer, then you're going to think they're talking about beer. So when we just categorize alcohol as alcohol, yeah, it's going to hit everything.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, this is hypocritical at best without
You
a
think?
real recognition of what are the serious challenges out there. And there are plenty of them that would be better to tackle. Like we said, sugary foods and ultra processed. I mean, the tobacco is I think that's well labeled at the end of the day. You could do something more aggressive around like some of the stuff they do in Europe where they actually put like live, like real photos of actually people who are, dealing with that. We still or have cancer related to tobacco. We still have we're like scratch the surface on fixing the opioid crisis and other prescription drug stuff. Those right alone are, three of the best ones that I could think of. It's just like, hey, we should spend some time. And meanwhile, stick your head in the sand and do nothing about THC, but you post this up. Like, as a federal government, you do nothing about THC. There's no research on it at all. We know combustibles are bad in some way. We know that tobacco combustion is bad for smoking. You can't tell me that smoking dope is like the cleanest thing you could do to put, even though it's got no nicotine in it or whatever else, or you can't tell me that's good for you either. There's no research on it.
Yeah.
And we just stick our head in the sands and do nothing about it. Crazy.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
It's like there's
crazy.
a bigger driver behind it wanting to sabotage the alcohol industry.
Clearly, there is more at play than what we think of. I'm not one for big conspiracy theories, but there's more at play for sure. And like, we're not that stupid.
Yeah.
We're not that dumb. When Americans, we're not that dumb. The consumer's not that dumb. We won't be duped in any sense of the world. And it probably makes a negative impact, but GLP-1s probably makes a bigger negative impact than anything that you can put on a label.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just overall lowering consumption across the board. So I think it's crazy that this is something that they did. And he's like out the door too. He's going to get broomed by the Trump administration like overnight and just does it right out the door. I'd find that crazy too.
Well, if there's any small breweries that are listening and you're looking for a new name for your IPA, it's a great time to have your chemo IPA, man. So why not drink your cancer and have chemo at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Too early? Is that too soon?
It's too soon. Would you spell with a K or a C?
Yeah, I mean, you can get as creative as you want. Yeah,
as creative as you want. Oh my gosh, wild! Has anybody in your network of friends talked about this at all?
Not at all. No. Which after it made the nightly news, usually I'm the first one to get text on any kind of alcohol industry related stuff, and no, nothing. So
I don't think anybody cares. I don't think they're paying attention. I don't think they know.
My friends are all seasoned veterans. It's not going to bother them.
No, TV doesn't tell us what to drink, right, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Only incentives and displays do.
Only incentives and displays do. Well, we're technically not on the TV. We're just a podcast. We're a small upstart media company, new age media company, trying to become a rich legacy media company.
Yeah. Yep.
Love it. Well, that's all we got today. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, share with a friend. You can find us here wherever you're listening to it right now, which includes Apple, Spotify, all the other major podcast places, and YouTube as well. We have a small, I don't know if you checked our YouTube numbies lately, but we have a small little, cohort of people on the YouTube too.
I know, and that number is growing. So now I have to kind of pay attention, make sure I look okay. People are actually looking at us now. So
why would you do that when you can just, be cold and wear a hood?
I love it. That's how you should show up for every podcast.
That's how I should show up for every podcast too.
Yeah.
One more thing before we go, Mikey, I should send this to you. Let's see here. So this is in my office. And
oh my God.
Oops. Hey-o. I had to find this. Look at poor
I'd like
Jetta.
to take this time to remind everybody that you are in Florida.
I've got the sweater on, the fleece. I've got sweatpants on. I've got
I can see the blanket for Jetta. I mean, that looks cozy.
Mm-hmm. And I got the quilted blanket. And then look at little Jetta over here.
Oh, she's cozy.
She's out with Sarah now. She's in the sun enjoying herself.
Okay.
So I think that is a good way to end the episode. Mikey, you are the man. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and cheers.
Stay warm, bud. Cheers.
Yes, stay warm out there.